Good evening. It is the 25th day of November 2022 and exactly 8 p.m. East African time now for you to get informed about stories that are making headlines today. The hashtag is Lookupweekend. And as we usher in the weekend, we want to make sure that you're still on the know about what's happening around you. Before we get into all the day's stories, here are our top stories. Tonight, a Lookup Weekend.
Kama mwaka ulikuwa mfupi sana, muda wa kusoma ulikuwa mfupi, na hiyo tunajua kwa sababu ni ile siku nyingine tulifanya hiyo KCP nyingine. Sasa kutoka mwezi wa 4 kuja hivi ndio tumekuwa na wakati wa kusoma, lakini tumejiandaa.
All systems go for the KCPE exam set to start on Monday as rehearsals are completed across different schools in the country.
Steering Committee on Drought Response that we are inaugurating today will, among other things, establish a private-led National Drought Mitigation Appeal Fund.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua appeals to Kenyans to contribute more donations as he commissions the National Steering Committee of Drought Response. And it's all hands on deck to hit the forest cover target of 10% in Nakuru as the Kenya Forest Service incorporates locals in efforts to curb tree poaching and tame forest fires.
Communities are involved in the nurturing, maintenance and sustainability of our sites, where they are engaged as community volunteers to nurture the trees and also add a social fence around the program.
Once more, welcome to the broadcast. Remember, you can catch this live broadcast across all our social media platforms at Lookuptv on Facebook, Lookuptv on Twitter, and Lookuptv on our YouTube channel. I am Nelima, and our sign language interpreter for tonight is Philista Adundo. Stay with us as we bring you up to speed with the latest. And we begin. 1.2 million Class 8 pupils and 1.3 million Grade 6 pupils are set to sit for their national exams, KCPE and KPSEA, respectively, after concluding their preparation for the national exams. The candidates from different parts of the country have shown their readiness from the exams, with teachers confident that the candidates are ready for the examinations.
For the first time since the introduction of the CBC curriculum, Grade 6 candidates are ready to sit for the national exams. The Grade 6 and the Class 8 candidates will be sitting for the national exams at the same time on Monday as they seek to progress their next level of education. In Kiambu County, teachers are confident, while at the same time insisting that it was a challenge to prepare the students for the exams within a short period of time.
Nane na tuko na darasa la 6 na walimu ni wale tu. Kwa hivyo walimu wakati huu wamekuwa na jukumu kubwa, wamekuwa na kazi mingi sana kutayarisha grupu 2 za mtihani ambao wanafanya the same year.
A fair manner without any interference.
Wako imara, hata kama mwaka ulikuwa mfupi sana. Muda wa kusoma ulikuwa mfupi, na hiyo tunajua kwa sababu ni ile siku nyingine tulifanya hiyo KCP nyingine. Sasa kutoka mwezi wa 4 kuja hivi ndio tumekuwa na wakati wa kusoma, lakini tumejiandaa na tumepata paka support ya wazazi.
The same confidence was exuded by examiners and teachers in Nandi County, who are confident that the students will perform well despite the challenge of short time that came as a result of the exam calendar being disrupted by COVID-19.
Nashukuru kwa jinsi ambavyo maandalizi yamefanyika katika shule hii. Yamefanyika kulingana na kiwango chetu ambacho tunasema ni kiwango ambacho imefikia kiwango ambacho imepita wastani. Wanafunzi kulingana na mimi nimeona jinsi ambavyo wamejiandaa, wako na furaha na pia wanatarajia kuanza mtihani huu kwa hamu na gamu.
Mwaka wa masomo ulikuwa ni mfupi sana, takriban miezi 6 hivi kufunza kazi ya mwaka mzima. Ilimekuwa ni changamoto sana kwa walimu, kwa wanafunzi, hata na kwa wazazi. Licha haya yote, sisi tuna matumaini kwa kuwa walimu wetu walijisatiti kabisa mwaka huu kuona kwamba wametayarisha wanafunzi wetu vizuri, na kulingana na mwaka jana ama tukilinganisha na mwaka jana tunaona kwamba hawa wanafunzi wa mwaka huu wametayarishwa vizuri sana, na tuna matumaini kwamba katika matokeo ya mwaka huu watakapofanya mtihani tunatarajia masomo ama matokeo mazuri sana.
As the exams kick off on Monday next week, CS Interior Professor Kithure Kindiki urged the national government administrative officers to prioritize grassroots coordination and partnerships with the Education Ministry in facilitating the administration of national examination to pupils in grade 6 under the CBC program, learners in class 8 and Form 4 candidates under the 844 system.
Even as we speak, the GA officers are facilitating a very important national exercise, and that is the administration of the examinations to our pupils and students. This national exercise is continuing, and I want to ask security agencies to be vigilant and cooperate with the Ministry of Education to ensure that we have successful examinations.
1.3 million KPSEA candidates will be gauging their mind to see if they are ready to ascend to junior high as the debate on CBC continues to gain momentum in the country, with the task force tabling a report on recommendation before the National Assembly. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Thank you, Brian Amwai, for that report. And now to matters drought mitigation. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on Friday commissioned the National Steering Committee on Drought Response and appealed to Kenyans to further complement government intervention efforts by contributing in cash or kind to the well-being of those in need. The 15-member committee, established through an executive order from the Office of the President issued on November 21st, 2022, has been tasked to establish the private sector-led National Drought Mitigation Appeal Fund and mobilize resources to alleviate the impact of drought-ravaging parts of the country.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has appealed to salaried employees in the country to set aside percentage of their salaries towards hunger relief.
To Kenyans of goodwill to contribute a percentage of their salaries to pay to a pay bill number that will be established soon by this committee. Already, our men and women in the Kenya Defence Forces have offered to forego 1 day's salary to contribute to the response kit. The National Youth Service has followed suit.
Speaking during the inauguration of the National Steering Committee on Drought Response, the DP said that the contributions will be channeled towards the response kitty. He also used the opportunity to extend his appreciation to religious groups that have been on the forefront in mobilizing food relief to alleviate those facing the hunger crisis.
The Steering Committee on Drought Response that we are inaugurating today will, among other things, establish a private-led National Drought Mitigation Appeal Fund and mobilize resources to alleviate the impact of drought-ravaging parts of this country. The President has established the Steering Committee to provide a framework for mobilization of additional resources following increased public interest in scaling up of drought response to meet the needs of fellow citizens affected by the drought.
The committee is headed by Safaricom Chief Executive Officer Peter Ndegwa and brings together CEOs of various leading private institutions, among them banks. The DP said the current drought situation requires enhanced budgetary support from both levels of government and development partners to unlock the full potential of ASAL regions. Kenyans in food surplus counties can make their contributions through the Office of the Governors and the County Commissioners. So far, 14 counties remain in the alarm phase. Cecilia Lubanga, Lookuptv.
This is my second polling tomorrow as well.
In Parliament, the hearing of petitions seeking the removal from office of 4 IEBC commissioners who disagreed with the Commission's chair decision to declare William Ruto as president in the August election has come to an end. The two remaining petitioners, Geoffrey Langat and Jerry Owuor, made their submissions today before the Parliamentary Select Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs. And as our reporter Henry Tende now files, the petitioners want the 4 commissioners fired on allegations of violation of the Constitution, partiality and incompetence.
My name is Tabuke Rose, research officer.
The remaining 2 petitioners, Geoffrey Langat and Jerry Owuor, appeared before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, armed with what they believe is substantive evidence to remove from office indicted Commissioners Juliana Cherera, Irene Masit, Francis Wanderi and Justice Nyang'aya.
The actions and conduct of the 4 commissioners were a confirmation of the existence of a cozy and flourishing relationship between the Azimio Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party or its agents and or its agents. The same is contrary to Section 26 and 30 of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Act 2011. The actions were a violation of the oath of office. They swore to uphold the Constitution and the law. The manifest impartiality and attempt to subvert the will of the people was a threat to national security, peace and order.
The 4 commissioners' conduct, to the extent that they issued strikingly similar statements with a contestant in a presidential election contest that they were acting as referees over, cast aspersions as to their impartiality in the electoral process that they were supposed to be administering.
Langat and Owuor recommending, among other raft measures, that the 4 commissioners be found guilty of grievous misconduct.
We humble petitioner prays that the National Assembly, and due to the urgency of the matter, take the necessary steps as per Article 251(3) on removal of commissioners and grant the following prayers. To find the IEBC commissioners Irene Masit, Juliana Cherera, Francis Wanderi and Julius Nyang'aya to have committed serious violations of the Constitution and the law, including contravention of Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya. B, to find that the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commissioners, Irene Masit, Juliana Cherera, Francis Wanderi and Julius Nyang'aya are guilty of misconduct while performing their duties as members of the Commission. C, to find the IEBC commissioners, Irene Masit, Juliana Cherera, Francis Wanderi, and Julius Nyang'aya are incompetent to hold the office of commissioners, and your petitioner will ever pray.
Honorable members of the committee, I invite you to convince your larger majority members in the House to vote in favor of this petition and forward it to the President of the Republic of Kenya to remove these 4 commissioners.
Commissioner Irene Masit will also have to fight hard to remain in the commission. This after petitioner Jerry Owuor said she is unconstitutionally in office as her appointment as commissioner was apparently done while she was still an active politician.
Commissioner Irene Masit, as you might be aware, unsuccessfully vied for the position of Elgeyo Marakwet woman representative position. She did that. Her name was gazetted as one of the persons who contested for that elective position. What that should inform you is that Article 88(2) subparagraph A1 of the Constitution expressly prohibits a person from being appointed as a commissioner of the IEBC if that person has contested for an election within a period preceding 5 years from the date of appointment.
The 4 commissioners will have their moment before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee from Monday next week to clear their names. Will they save their threatened career? Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Henry Tende, for that detailed report. And we're due for a very fast break here on Look Up Weekend. But do keep in your feedback coming in. I'll be sampling some of that at the tail end of the bulletin. On the other side, I'll be giving you some more stories on the business front, as well as keeping up with the World Cup in Qatar. Don't go too far.
Imagine starting your academic journey here at the foot of Mount Kenya, a place where you can call home, a place where we celebrate our diversity and uniqueness, a place where you can be at your best, at work and at play. That place is Embu College. There's no better place to make the difference than Embu College. Karibu Embu College, where a holistic education matters.
Haiso Properties Limited bado tunakutangazia Lanet Oasis Nakuru City. Ploti hizi ni za 50 by 100 na ni mita 500 tu kutoka kwenye barabara ya lami. Lanet Oasis kuna maji na stima, barabara za maram na ni karibu na shule ya Anesta Boys. Eneo hili lina usalama wa hali ya juu. Ploti ya 50 by 100 tunakuzia shilingi milioni 1.6 na hii ndio fursa ya mwisho na bei hii. Tutembelee ofisi zetu hapa jijini Nakuru Tower 1 Building, orofa ya 3 au wasiliana nasi kupitia nambari 0758 707 050 au tuma neno Lanet kwa nambari 21404. Haiso Properties Limited, a culture of trusts.
So mimi nilikuwa mmoja wa timu kubwa ya Hasla na kujia mazao yake.
Na bila shaka mpenzi mtazamaji, ni awamu nyingine tena ya bunge la mwenyeji ambapo tunasikia tu maoni ya wenyeji hasa wananchi wa kawaida. Je, maoni ni yapi?
Anakuambia wananchi ndio kila kitu. Unaona dipsi na system ni wananchi. Unaona vile wamenyorosha watu bwana.
Tumeng'oa nanga kwenye bunge la mwenyeji.
So ile kitu lazima tunamuomba asituachilie.
Hey kids, when left in the kitchen, can you cook? Apart from cooking, can you bake? As you can see, our chef Wendy Nyambura has really made a really wonderful meal. From 9 a.m. kids, it's Kids Connection live on your screen.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with Lookuptv. The hashtag is LookUpWeekend. Nancy Nelima here and Felista Adundo on the sign language interpretation. Let's continue informing you. Chiefs and assistant chiefs will now be vetted and assessed before being given firearms to deal with security issues in different parts of the country. This is according to Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki. Kindiki, who spoke while attending the passage parade of Ngao officers, also warned the officers against engaging in politics.
As the government scales up security across the country, Interior CES Professor Kithure Kindiki now says chiefs and assistant chiefs will be given firearms to be able to provide security and protect Kenyan people, especially in the northern parts of the country.
All chiefs and assistant chiefs will be vetted for suitability to bear arms so that they can be armed to support the security agencies in the areas that are affected by banditry and the threat of terrorism along the Kenya-Somalia border. This process begins immediately and will start with chiefs and assistant chiefs in the areas which I have mentioned.
The government has also made sure that chiefs will be given enough manpower in terms of security officers who will help in providing security. Kindiki said the government is committed in supporting the public servants in providing security by giving them the necessary manpower and tools to carry out their work.
The policy decision that every chief will have at their disposal 5 police officers across the country to assist them in the enforcement of law and order in their areas of jurisdiction. We have also taken the policy decision to upscale the National Police Reservice program in all the counties that are affected by the problem of livestock rustling and banditry and the threat of terrorism.
Kindiki, who spoke at the Embakasi Administration Police Training College during the pass-out parade for 448 assistant county commissioners who underwent paramilitary training, warned administrators against engaging in politics or discrimination in public service.
We will not expect Ngao officers to participate in extraneous activities, including politics. The policy of this administration is to create a professional national government administrative organ that can serve the country impartially, equally, and in accordance with the law. Leave political matters to politicians.
So far, 1,397 ACCs have already completed the mandatory training designed to hone their leadership skills and acquaint them with the practical security activities and field operations. Brian Amuai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Anyway, from that, Azimio la Umoja now say they are consulting on resistance against the authoritarian rule by the current government, led by the coalition leaders Raila Odinga. The leaders accuse the Kenya Kwanza government of dragging the country back to the dark days while violating human rights. This emerged at the end of the coalition meeting in the Great Rift Lodge in Naivasha, which was attended by governors and their deputies from the coalition.
The Kenya Kwanza regime may have the appearance of legality, but does not, I repeat not, have the legitimacy from the people. We remind the people of Kenya that slavery may have been legal in jurisdictions, but remained repugnant to morality and justice. Colonialism may have been covered by the veneer of legality, but was morally decadent and unjust. Similarly, rigging of elections may have been clothed with the cloth of legality, but it remains illegitimate and repugnant to justice. Our quest for electoral justice continues, and we will never allow the rigging of elections to become a new normal in our country. To this end, we take serious notice and condemn in the strongest term possible the revenge mission the regime has embarked on against conscientious communities.
And communities rehabilitating leaders from Nakuru County, I beg your pardon, have asked the community to continue taking care of the forest as one of the ways to prevent climate change effects in the country. This call comes a few days after President William Ruto promised that his government will plant 1 billion trees in less than 10 years.
Slow but sure wins the race. That may be the mantra for Kenyans' efforts to achieve its long-sought forest cover of 10%. For the past 2 years, the Kenya Forest Service, in partnership with other organizations, have been incorporating locals in effort to curb threats to forest existence, with Dondori Forest being among the beneficiaries of the reforestation initiatives. The partnership has been sensitizing over 3,600 members of Dondori Community Forest Association on climate change, offering training on afforestation initiatives and helping them to find alternative sources of livelihoods that do not destroy the forest.
Where communities get income or tokens by participating in a reforestation program. There are 3 entry levels. Communities are able to provide labor for reforestation. where they get income. Communities are able to supply seedlings for reforestation program where they get income. Communities are involved in the nurturing, maintenance, and sustainability of our sites, where they are engaged as community volunteers to nurture the trees and also add a social fence around the program.
According to Mr. Aibata, 81,500 indigenous tree seedlings have been planted in the forest in the past 3 months through the joint program.
At the moment, we have to involve the community because now they provide the cheap labor. That is, they do the planting of trees in the forest and then they do take care of. Currently, the CFA Dundori Conservation Community has members of 3,600, but not all that are involved. We have few who do take part in most of the activities in the forest. Mostly they're around 1,200. Those are the ones who are actively involved in the conservation, planting and maintaining of the forest.
ITF Program Manager Wycliffe Matika indicates that growing more indigenous trees in the forest besides restoring soil fertility has other diverse uses. Matika now encourages youths to channel their energy into tree planting, which helps them earn income and safeguards their future from climate change effects.
In Kenya, we have a total of 1,100 species, indigenous species, but out of it, we have 142 that are threatened with extinction. This is of particular concern not only at the local level but also at the global level, and we intend to ensure that we restore the threatened species in the ecosystems but also in the landscapes so that we are able to gain as much benefits as possible.
Wezesha Community Chairperson Redemptor Mutisia states that parts of Nakuru County are vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. Mutisia added that there are special emphasis on women as they have many responsibilities in the community.
We identify degraded places or parts of the forests in the county and, work with the community to restore this back to their former glory, so to speak. We also are actively involved in women empowerment, and specifically we are seeing the not so active involvement of women.
Thanks to the extensive training on tree planting as well as indigenous tree species that are being replanted in the forest, as now beneficiaries have started making deposits at their indigenous seed banks based on knowledge gathered from the conservation program. Mitaruan, Lookuptv.
Thank you for that story, Mitaru. And moving on, the Amref International University is launching the 2022-2027 strategic framework that is set to increase Africa's workforce and research for Africa's primary healthcare. The Amref Vice Chancellor, Professor Joachim Osur, has explained the purpose of the launch.
Those who come out and ready to work. The other thing that is unique about the university is that we train for Africa. We make people who we train think globally, even as they act locally. So they are contextually relevant, but very internationally thinking and connected. And this is because diseases know no borders.
They are of quality and they are accessible without financial difficulty, which is why we want to work, and we work generally with the public health system, where the governments are using people's money, the taxes, to finance health services and ensure there are good quality outcomes for everybody. And what we call enterprises. And for those, we have Amref Flying Doctors. We have what we call the Amref Health Innovation that incubates innovation. But one of our biggest enterprises is the Amref International University, which is launching its strategy today and basically asking itself, what role can we play as a university that trains health workers, nurses, midwives, and other cadres that deliver or enable the delivery of health? How do we enable that across the continent of Africa? What strategy do we need to serve health for the African continent that is African contextualized and serving the needs of the people of Africa? How do we enable primary health care within the universal health coverage so that everyone is within reach of a health worker that they need to give them the best health out?
And now let's talk business, and on a rather happy note, NCBA Bank has announced that it will write off more than 11.2 billion shillings loan of bad loans under its digital platforms Fuliza and Mshwari for borrowers who have defaulted on short-term loans to waive 50% of the amount and are expected to repay within 6 months. Edin John Mokora now reports.
Move comes after the Central Bank of Kenya CBK announced a credit repair framework seeking to delist 4.2 million mobile digital borrowers from negative listing on Credit Reference Bureau CRB in an aim to improve their credit standing. While making this announcement, NCBA Chief Finance Officer David Aboya has said the lender has already completed a reclassification of more than 5 million Mshwari and Fuliza clients, with communication to each client already initiated.
The data, as we're showing here, shows very strong performance. I think maybe just to give a little bit of context, that 521 billion of disbursements is specifically relating to Fuliza and Mshwari. About 460 billion of that being a turnover from Fuliza, and about 60 billion of that being Mshwari.
As of October 31st, the value of non-performing loans was estimated to be at 30 billion shillings, with Fuliza and Mshwari accounting for over 22.5 billion shillings over a 10-year period. This means NCBA Bank, which controls the lion's share in the digital lending market of about 75% alongside Safaricom and KCB, will cancel the largest share of these loans.
And we are the only lender that is underwriting Fuliza loans, at least as at the point when this decision has been made. So that's the context.
For Lookup Business, Edwin John Mokora.
Time now to get sporty. Kenya Rugby Sevens head coach Damian McGrath has introduced new players into Shujaa squad out of Rugby Sevens series in Cape Town and Dubai. McGrath has brought in Roni Omondi and Bob Mohati, taking place of Vincent Onyala and Bushmole. Moving on, the FKF Premier